GrrCon back again. Special guest right now. We've got Dr. D.
Yeah, baby.
So, good to have you in the chair. How you feeling?
Feeling good. This is the second conference I attended that you guys put on. I went to Hack Space Con, and I was really impressed.
The one about a month ago?
Yep.
I was supposed to be there, but I couldn't actually get the tickets. I was going from one job to another. There's that time period where you have little money. I missed a good, from what I heard, I missed a good one this year.
It was great.
So we've been talking a lot about, education over the course of the day, people that have helped mentor. So do you have a story you'd like to share?
Yeah, matter of fact, I have a great mentor. His name is Dr. Chase Cunningham. Most of the knowledge, the conferences I go to, this guy, I've followed him for years, and he's been great. He's been a good friend. And, something happened to him recently where he got into a debate with one of the big cybersecurity vendors, CS. Everybody knows who they are.
If you can't figure this out, just think about when everybody in the world stopped for about 3 days.
Yes. So he recently lost his contracts because they came after him for him telling the truth. We were at Zero Trust World, talking about cybersecurity, talking about Zero Trust, and he actually, his PowerPoint presentation mentioned them only telling the truth, and they came after him because they were upset, because they know that cybersecurity needs to be regulated. They don't want to be regulated because no company should be that big like AT&T. Everybody has antitrust. They're broken up. But no company should have the power to shut down half of the country and not face any ramifications. This was all
in regards to that outage?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like one of those things, everybody remembers where they were on 9/11, and everybody remembers where they were when the internet stopped. Personally, I was sitting in Melbourne, Australia, supposed to be coming home. Nothing like... you get that. I was awake while when that update was pushed because I was down in Australia, and all of a sudden nothing worked.
Nothing.
And I'm looking at my United app and it's like canceled. Oh boy, I was stuck in Australia for an extra 2 days, and I did a lot of my own personal research into that, and you probably know more than I do in regards to that. From what I discovered, that was an internal tool that was supposed to check the validity of the code prior to pushing it, and it didn't see anything wrong and went...
Didn't see anything wrong. Everything out. And not to badmouth them, but I've had run-ins with them. I was at GrrCon one year.
GrrCon.
You're drinking, you're having fun. So a table full of those guys were sitting behind me. I didn't know, and I'm talking about the outage and everything else. And all of a sudden, they stand up. They literally wanted to fist fight with me at the conference.
Okay, I need to break in here for a minute. If you look at me, I know I look like I'm a pacifist and I'm a very peace-loving man, but one thing I will say is I am a staunch believer in personal responsibility. I really am. I'm a former employee of CyberArk. I was CyberArk's technical evangelist for 11 years. And I watched that company when things were discovered, we disclosed, we patched, we updated. And to me, that's one, to be honest, when it comes to the specific company in question, I remember sitting in Australia going, this won't be a company in a month. And to your point about the monopolies and everything else, where's the backlash? Where's the outrage?
You buy the breach now. When someone gets breached, you buy their stock because it's going to go back up. There's no pain anymore. There's no regulation. No one cares. And when you tell the truth, you get attacked for it.
I mentioned earlier in a podcast session I did with someone earlier, the fact that, we have reached a point where we as a society, and I'm going to say the U.S., because I do have some experience in other regions, but I think it's more so here. We have become almost completely desensitized to loss of data, loss of PII, and breaches. I mean, it can go back to the OPM breach for the military, Target, leaks, call it whatever you want, but how many of people have gotten one of those emails or a letter that says, your information was part of this, leak, and now we're going to give you 1 year of free credit monitoring, but that's still your data for the rest of your life.
Right. It's still your data. And my thing is, everybody has issues and problems. But when you personally attack somebody and you come after their job, you're coming after not only their livelihood, but their family and their reputation.
And their reputation.
And I've been in this business for over 20 years. Stellar reputation. I even walked away from a job at the university because they wanted me to they really literally wanted me to give diplomas away just because rich kids had the money and their parents could pay for it. So my reputation, that's the only job I ever walked away from. So anytime I see a partner of mine getting attacked and he's a military vet, you just started a fight with every veteran that's out there. Because the truth is everything. And if I have to give up my job, if I have to live in a cardboard box, I will. But I'm not going to let any company attack me and attack my integrity and come after my livelihood for telling the truth. It would be different if I lied and said, it's all data that you can search on the internet and you can find it. You can find the statistics. Breaches make money. Prevention doesn't.
No.
So why are so many companies selling these products and they're making so much money because they're getting this venture capitalist money and they're not even trying to prevent because they know when a company gets attacked, their stock's going to go down. They're either going to short it. You can buy the breach now and make money. I know people who are up 24% in their stock portfolio from buying the breach. So you wonder what is really going on in the world of cyber. So I'm a truth teller, and I'm going to continue to be a truth teller. I don't care who comes after me. You can call my job. You can try to say that you're not going to do business with them anymore. But when you shoot, make sure you get me. And a company shot, and they missed. And I'm still around. I'm still going to tell the truth. Tomorrow I'm going to tell the truth about don't drink the Kool-Aid because I'm going to continue to do it to the day they put me in the ground because nobody scares me. I'm a Christian. I know God, only thing I fear is God. I fear no man. But, I'm always going to be polite. I'm never going to dog anybody. But because I'm telling the truth, if you want to come after me, come on.
And I'm just going to take it a higher level here for just a second. We're all supposedly fighting for the same cause.
Right.
If securing our infrastructure, preventing damage to society, that's what we all preach. I had somebody in here earlier who was talking about the camaraderie at conferences, and as somebody that's been a part of the conference scene for over a decade, we all see the same people at every show. We're all vendors. We're all traveling. We have a camaraderie, and even though like I said, I'm former CyberArk. Some of our big competition was Beyond Trust, Psychotic. Yep. So when we're on the conference floor, I may rib them a little bit, about which one of us has better swag.
Right.
But I'm not gonna, well, I'll be honest. If I can steal a deal from you, I will. But I'm not gonna go after you as a person.
Exactly.
And especially when you're talking about a company that big, what would give you that feeling of loyalty?
I think it is they're afraid of the truth. They're afraid of being regulated. They're afraid of...
Well, regulation's coming.
It's overdue. But it makes no sense because all people are asking for, if you say your product does something,
do it.
Make sure it does it.
Oh, we can go back to the old ISO standards. Say what you do what you say, and prove it.
They get so big that they forget where they came from. And now it's not about protection. It's about making money.
It's about maintenance of the brand.
Maintenance of the brand. It's like anything. Back in the day, doctors used to smoke cigarettes. And they say, we smoke Camels. But people were still getting cancer. Domino Sugar was saying, hey, you can lose weight by eating Domino Sugar. And then we got all this diabetes and everything. And the cigarette market. Oh, don't smoke cigarettes, vape. Look at people that have vaped. It's all about marketing. If your product does what it says it does, I told people I'll be like a drug dealer on the street. I'll sell it like it's crack cocaine. But if it does not do it and you're harming people, then I have a problem with it, because it's the companies that are going out of business that are getting false sense of security because you told them, I can prevent all breaches. Nobody can prevent all breaches, because if you could, you would.
Amen.
Because everybody would be using it. So it's that type of thing where telling the truth, you're penalized for telling the truth nowadays.
But at the same time, how can you tell the truth in today's society and have a marketable product? You almost have to lie in order to be able to get any type of market share. You have to hype it up. We were talking about the concepts of demos. We can sit down and I can show you any application and I can show you how awesome it works in a defined set of parameters. But that is not necessarily how it's going to work in real life.
Right.
So I can give you bells and whistles all day long. I agree with everything you've said. And as far as your mentor's position, anyone who gets taken down for telling you the truth, that's not right.
Not right at all.
But let's take a larger look at that. So if that's the case, how do we correct this? How do we address this from a consumer standpoint, or even from a advisory standpoint, being in the positions that we are in cyber? The problem is, especially when you get into these large companies, they have such a market share that once they're implanted into a business, a rip and replace is not a cheap or easy fix.
And it's hard to do it, because they become like Facebook and everybody. It's a utility now. The government can allow them to go out because they would take out half the country if they went out of business. So they're solidifying themselves by saying, hey, if I get so big, nobody can touch me. But guess who can touch anyone? Customers.
Exactly.
Vet vendors properly. Look at the data.
Right. Let's start with that. I want to break this down, because you raise very valid points. What would you consider to be a good way of vetting a vendor? Because if I'm just Joe average business, what am I going to do? I'm going to look at Yelp. I may be able to try and get some references, but people at our level of cyber, we know things and have a better understanding than the majority of the people that are going to be looking for our services.
So you look at how intrusive is the software that they're going to install on my system. Is it going down to the kernel level? Is it going to take complete control of my system? Anything that's kernel level, I would never install on any one of my machines. Then look at the actual people that work there. Are they happy?
Well, to your point, if I may, how many people who are not directly in cyber even know what a kernel is?
Probably not too many. But see, this is why if you go to conferences and you send your people to conferences and they learn about these software vendors and what really works, now you have a leg to stand on. But if you're just sitting,
So it's back to becoming an educated consumer.
This is why I come to conferences. This is why I come to this conference. I learned so much from Panda, just knowing him about Meshtastic.
Panda's awesome.
I didn't even know what Meshtastic was before the conference.
Shout out to Panda.
But if you don't come to conferences, you're going to be bamboozled, because they're going to show you something in an environment with the data that they've chosen, and it's going to look perfect. I used to sell home theater systems. I pad the room, $30,000 worth of padding. It sounds great. You get that system home, and it doesn't work the same because you didn't invest the money. You really have to vet vendors.
It's the same system, just not the same environment.
And if you don't know how to vet them correctly, go to a company that vets vendors and let them vet them for you. But don't ever let somebody tell you, I'm an all-in-one solution. I can help you. I can stop this.
Let's be honest. That is the marketing term. Or you know what the marketing term is? We're turnkey solution.
Right.
There's a reason that there are specialties in medicine. There is a reason that there are specialties in cyber. And I think you've actually basically put a glaring spotlight on one of the biggest problems is people like us have always been looked at like, you guys are wizards. You understand this stuff. But there's not enough of us to be able to guard every single endpoint. So I love your concept of education. My fear is that, people, and, we've already gone down a controversial topic in this podcast to begin with. I'm going to say it out loud. I honestly believe most people are too lazy to take up the effort needed to become educated.
They are. Most of the time, I feel so bad for most people their companies won't pay them to get training.
Yeah.
People come out of their own pockets. I say 80% of the people here have come out of their pocket, came here, taken days off, and the CISOs and the company should be ashamed of themselves for not educating their people.
I think it's come to a point where most businesses have forgotten that their greatest resources is their employees.
A happy employer. You know, I'm so grateful, and I'm not going to mention their name because I promised I wouldn't. The company I work for now, the last company I worked for gave me imposter syndrome so bad. The way that they treated me, I felt like I didn't know anything. And until I came to this company where my boss is great, and now I get free reign to develop people and to talk about controversial topics, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to help our clients to stay safe. My loyalty is to no vendor. My loyalty is to the company I work for, and my loyalty is to them customers that are entrusting me to give them correct information and not sell them a false sense of security or be attacked for telling the truth. So you just got to bite the bullet. I bit the bullet at my last job. They really gave me, my PTSD was flaring up. It really was a bad experience, and I don't want anybody to go through that. So you got to vet vendors, and you got to, look out for your own mental health. But when a company attacks you personally, it's just time to fight back and not say, okay, it's okay, especially when they go after your mentors and everyone else. No company should have that much power.
How do I want to put this? I agree with you, but I don't even think it's about the power. I think it's about the accountability.
Right.
Because you could have that kind of a size business, and if they had come out and said, look, and had been transparent in their response, that's different. But you don't see that kind of thing anymore, especially here in the U.S., because the minute you admit any type of guilt, somebody's lawyering up and they're trying to take a piece of you. And it's gotten to the point where the deny has to happen just to protect them from a legal perspective. And in doing so, I think we've destroyed the faith in these companies to a lot of end users, and we're basically looking at them almost as a necessary evil.
Yep. And we've normalized too much stuff. To me, you can be nice to people. You can have something go wrong. You can admit fault. And then if someone comes after you, you've already admitted fault, but you have some type of responsibility to people. If you're going to take on the responsibility, I'm going to protect you. The good and bad is going to happen. That's why they have insurance like everybody else has insurance. But it's always, if something happens, it's your fault. You didn't do this or that. See, that's just pointing fingers. Accept it. When I make a mistake, I accept it and I move on. But if you can't accept your fault and you're pointing the finger at everybody else when they come after you, something's wrong with that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, what's it going to get you?
Nothing.
It's frightening to look at the way that we are beholden to a lot of these security products, especially at the large scale. And unfortunately, there's no easy rectification to it or remediation.
And trust me, I'm not anti-vendor.
No.
There are some good products out there that really work. But by the time you find out about them, the big guys have swallowed them up.
I was going to say, most of those products...
in the IT graveyard, I call it. Yeah,
either the IT graveyard, or they will buy them and try and shoehorn them into their already pre-existing solution.
Yeah.
The concept of development, I feel, is a startup game at this point. Most of the big companies, they're not developing, they're acquiring. And when you start getting dissimilar code bases and you're trying to shoehorn them all into one framework, oil and water don't mix.
But and this is probably something I would never do, defending any company. But you have to look at, if someone gave you a false sense of security and you didn't do your homework and all your systems are taken down, what were you doing to protect yourself? And how did they get that much control? So you got to look at yourself and say, how do I bring my systems back up? What was my backup plan? So you got to take some blame, because no one stuck a gun in your head and say, you have to use this solution.
Lack of preparation.
We have a choice.
Lack of preparation on your part does not mean that it should be an emergency on my part.
But so you can always, I would pay for a third-party vendor assessment before I use a third party just on hype or a commercial I saw.
You know,
or just
I think
for
that's
advertising.
honestly the best advice I've heard all day. And, you know, personally, I haven't seen too many of these types of companies out there in terms of companies that are going to do vetting of vendors for you. And for anybody that's listening, this might be your next $1 million idea. And if it works out, be sure to send me and him a bottle, as a way to say thank you.
And I'm not this is no plug on our company, but we do it. I do it for clients all the time. You know why? Because I don't want them to have a false insecurity. I want them to know, because whenever you use a third party, you accept their risk.
Absolutely.
So if you don't do your homework and they have risk, you've already accepted it once you sign that contract. Look at your SLAs. Make sure they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And if there's going to be a problem and they're going to take you out, make sure it's in that contract where you're going to pay my cybersecurity insurance premium, and then this is going to be your liability. I'm not coming out of my pocket. If they don't want to sign that contract, the SLA, find somebody else.
So out of respect, he said he's not going to name his company, but I'll tell you what, I have been in this industry for 30 years, so just a little longer than you.
Oh, a lot longer, yeah.
I was going to say, you remember token rings?
Yeah.
Oh, those were fun, weren't they?
They used to have them in the bowling alley. It was a token ring network in the bowling alleys to connect everything to, the scoring and everything. It was a token ring network at one time, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember Prime Lundy mainframes with light pens.
I'm probably older than you. People just don't realize I'm old dude.
You're an old soul.
Old soul.
And I'll tell you what,
we'll talk about it afterwards. We ain't giving our name on camera.
No. What I was going to say is, and the reason I brought this up, I've been in this industry for 30 years. If his company will do that, my suggestion is go find Dr. D and have a personal conversation with him, because this is a service that, as I was saying, if it doesn't exist, that's somebody's $1 million idea. Yep. Reputation goes a long way. And the problem is there's so many vendors, knowing who to believe becomes the problem. And, Dr. D is somebody you can definitely take at face value.
Yep, and I'm so glad that I found this conference. This is going to be my favorite conference. I don't care where I move at in the United States. I will come to HackSpaceCon, and I will come to HackRedCon, and I'm going to bring more people, because more people need to come to these conferences and understand the risk and what they're facing every day and how they can attack the challenges, and listen to these speakers talk, because it's only going to bring them knowledge. If you're missing conferences, you're already far behind. You have to come to conferences. The people who missed this conference, you need to come next year. And
if you miss the conference, make sure that you check out the videos after the fact. I've said it before, the cybersecurity community, we are probably one demographic that we have no problem sharing our knowledge with other people. So with that,
and I didn't mean to get all hostile, but
yes,
sometimes
you did. Yes, you did.
I sure did.
But you know what? Sometimes
yeah. But I'm passionate about it. My
to have
reputation
a soul
means
means
everything.
that you have to be passionate sometimes.
Because my reputation means everything. I done spent 25 plus
Absolutely.
years building it up from the military, and I would never let anyone take it. Thank you. I would never let anyone take my reputation and just throw it in the toilet. They got to fight ahead of them if they even try.
And nor should anyone ever. So with that, we're going to close this one down. It has been an amazing day here at Day One. We're going to be back tomorrow. More guests, more questions. Until then, anything you'd like to say to the people on the way out?
Make sure you come tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Until then, for Leno, for HackRedCon, till tomorrow, peace.
Peace.